We all remember the stories of World War II, how it all began with the bombing of Pearl Harbor. The Japanese were attacking. It was to change the world forever. The bombs were heard throughout the whole world, and our world was once again at war. And war is never a pretty thing. We all remember Adolf Hitler and his Aryan army, the rise and fall of Nazi Germany, the McKinley era, and communism. We can recall all these stories and the triumphant victories of the United States of America. But there were other stories untold on the eastern side of the world, one of which could be found in the islands of the Philippines. On the main island of Luzon. In 1942, after the 3-month Battle of Bataan, Filipino and American soldiers surrendered and were held captive as prisoners of war. These war-beaten POWs were forced by Japanese forces to make a week-long journey of about 160 kilometers to the north that will be known as the Bataan Death March. The prisoners of war were beaten, denied food and water, tortured to death, shot, beheaded, and bayoneted. 10,000 of the 75,000 POWs died. They marched from Marveles to San Fernando and taken to Camp O'Donnell. Some were taken to a POW camp of Cabanatuan. Upon hearing about these heinous war crimes, one of the most elaborate and glorious rescues to have never been told in World War II was called for. But the Americans could not do it alone. They called for Filipino guerrilla soldiers of the United States Army Forces of the Far East. The 6th Ranger Battalion, led by Lieutenant Colonel Henry Mucci, and Rangers, led by Captain Robert Prince, snuck in through Japanese enemy lines, guided by Filipino guerrillas and their captain Juan Pahoda. Once across, the recon mission was set and everybody played their parts. Within the camp, the POWs waited. The Rangers split into two, raiding the north and south gates, while the Filipino guerrillas stayed back and held the Japanese forces from coming into the camp. By 8:15, the camp was secure, and the raid was successful. Only 2 Rangers were killed, 512 prisoners of war liberated, about 523 Japanese troops killed or wounded, 21 Filipino guerrillas injured, and no Filipino casualties. The raid marked a high point of cooperation between Rangers, Alamo Scouts, and Filipino guerrillas. The Great Raid of Cabanatuan was a tremendous success that helped push forward the independence of the Philippines. These days, every year, the captured soldiers are honored on Araw ng Kagatingan, the Day of Valor, on April 19. The soldiers and those who wish to commemorate the fallen soldiers walk the March of Bataan. A memorial dedicated in 1982 was raised, as a large wall inscribed in which the names of those who died in Cabanatuan. Outside the camp is another memorial dedicated to the troops who successfully liberated the camp on the night of January 30, 1945.